You and a partner in crime just got arrested. The police separate you into different holding cells. You can't communicate. A detective walks in and makes you an offer. Betray your partner and testify against them, and you walk free while they serve 10 years. But if they betray you first, you get the 10 years, and they walk. Or you can both stay silent, and you'll each get a minor 1-year sentence. This diagram maps out the exact mathematical outcomes of your dilemma. If you trust each other and stay silent, you get 1 year each, the best collective outcome. If one of you betrays and the other stays silent, it's 0 years versus 10. And if you both panic and betray each other, you both get 5 years. The logical move for the group is silence. But from your individual perspective, sitting alone in that cell, betrayal is the safest bet. You don't know what your partner is doing. If you stay silent and they cut a deal, you're looking at a decade behind bars. The math exerts a gravitational pull on your fear, pushing you both to betray and locking you both into 5 years, a completely suboptimal outcome. You just lived the prisoner's dilemma. It is the foundational thought experiment of game theory, the scientific study of strategic decision-making. Pioneered in the mid-20th century by mathematicians like John von Neumann, it analyzes situations where your outcome depends on what other people choose to do. This dilemma is a microcosm of a much broader reality. We often see stalled careers or recurring arguments as personal failures, but game theory suggests these patterns are often the result of invisible structures. If we are playing games without seeing the board, we are likely to keep falling into the same traps. Let's scale this down to an intimate relationship. The mathematician John Nash identified a specific trap where two players get stuck in a bad situation, even when they both want things to change. Imagine a couple living in a medium-sized city. One person wants to move to a bustling metropolis to accelerate their career. The other wants to move to a quiet rural town to find peace and raise a family. To make a move, one person has to completely sacrifice their dream for the others. So they talk about it, they avoid the hard choice, and they stay exactly where they are. Years pass, the career opportunities vanish, and the peaceful rural life never happens. The safest mathematical move for both individuals was to do nothing, locking them into a shared stagnant status quo known as a Nash equilibrium. Even when the math is incredibly simple, human emotion can easily destroy an optimal deal. Consider the ultimatum game. You and two friends are trying to book a private table for a festival weekend. It costs $900. Evenly split, it's $300 each. But right before you book, one friend changes the rules. He demands to only pay $100, leaving you and the other friend to pay $400 each, or he walks and nobody gets the table. From a purely rational perspective, you should accept the deal. Paying $400 is still a win because you still get the experience you wanted. But you don't accept it. Being taken advantage of feels worse than losing the table. Pride and a demand for fairness override the math. You refuse to pay his share, the booking falls through, and everyone gets nothing. In our intimate one-on-one interactions, we fail the math over and over again. We lock ourselves into safe mediocrity to avoid making an unbalanced sacrifice, or we let pride obliterate deals where everyone could have won. When you expand these interactions into groups and workplaces, the game changes. Most people treat life like a poker game, a zero-sum environment where your win requires my loss. But human society is largely built on positive-sum games. Things like business partnerships and trade, where the pie can actually grow for everyone involved. If you are an employee treating your positive-sum office like a zero-sum competition, you will optimize for the wrong things. You might withhold critical information from a capable coworker because you want to look better to the boss. By actively preventing collaboration, the team's overall value stagnates. The company makes less money, neither of you gets a raise. We rarely play one-shot games in real life. You have to face that same coworker tomorrow and the next day. In these repeated games, the most robust strategy for survival is actually incredibly simple. It's called tit-for-tat. You cooperate at a first interaction, and then you exactly mirror whatever the other person did in the previous round. If they helped you, you help them. If they screwed you over, you shut them out. In these environments, a reputation for cooperation acts as an entry ticket to future deals. Being a known cooperator ensures you aren't locked out of the game when the next opportunity arrives. Zoom out far enough, and massive groups of perfectly rational people will voluntarily trap themselves in terrible systems. These are coordination games. The objective isn't to find the best possible tool or rule. The objective is simply to ensure everyone is using the exact same one. The layout of the QWERTY keyboard was designed to physically slow down typists so mechanical typewriter keys wouldn't jam together. We haven't used typewriters in decades, and vastly superior layouts exist. But you cannot individually switch to a better layout without becoming entirely incompatible with the rest of the working world. We also participate in signaling games. You cannot easily prove abstract traits like your work ethic or your wealth to a stranger, so you undertake incredibly costly actions to prove it. You work a grueling 80-hour week at a consulting firm, or you drop 10 grand on a heavy mechanical watch. You aren't buying functionality. You are buying a signal that is too expensive for a lazy or poor person to fake. Once everyone starts signaling, the baseline moves. You have to buy more expensive goods and work longer hours just to maintain your relative position. Modern culture is an exhausting arms race of wasteful signaling and locked-in coordination, forcing you to participate in inefficient systems just to stay relevant. The same logic scales up to the level of global resources. This is the tragedy of the commons, which occurs when a massive shared resource is ruined by collective overuse. If you are an industrial fishing operation, the rational, profitable move is to pull as many fish from the ocean as your boats can carry. But because no single fisher wants to limit their own income while their competitors keep sweeping the sea, everyone overextracts. The incentive structure ensures the depletion of the very resource the industry relies on. The logic of the commons applies anywhere individual profit conflicts with collective survival. From climate change to global resource management, these situations persist because the underlying math makes restraint feel like a losing move for the individual player. But here is the crucial caveat to all of this math. Game theory looks incredibly elegant on a whiteboard, but real humans do not live inside equations. We are chaotic creatures. Our decisions are clouded by fear, deep memory, and a desperate need for dignity. Nobody actually calculates a utility function before they speak. Game theory is not a magic spreadsheet you can use to flawlessly manipulate the people around you. It is a diagnostic framework. It allows you to look past a person's erratic behavior and identify the invisible incentives that are actually driving their choices. Once you can see the board, you have a choice. When you recognize that you are trapped in a toxic relationship, a stagnant career, or a bad equilibrium, your best move isn't to put your head down and try to play harder. Your best move is to change the game entirely.